welcome to Unsourced Wall. My name is Elvis, and as always, I'm your host. Alright, so let's get on to this. It's going to be a long episode. There's a bunch of stuff that happened and a bunch of comics to review. So let's get on right into the big thing, which was the first weekend of the DC Fandome. Of course, I should mention that apparently a lot of the groundwork for this virtual convention was done by folks who just got fired in the big DC implosion the week before. That's a shame because they deserve better, especially after how wonderful this thing turned out. Like, I'm not one for conventions at all, but the effort, style, and plum of this fandom really felt like it was an event compared to the virtual SDCC, which was just a bland series of YouTube live streams. This was actually pretty damn slick in comparison. Hopefully this can become the standard going forward for virtual cons. Now let's get into the cool stuff. First off, Milestone is finally coming back. There was this, I guess, failed attempt to relaunch with Static Shock Vanguard ongoing from Kyle Baker that just went nowhere. But now we have a real reboot that brings back some of the old Milestone heads and will be kicked off with a Milestone Returns one-shot. I can't wait. Cohen is involved and he's still got plenty of cachet. Most of the rest of the fandom was movie-centric, so let's just go down the list. We had our first look at Suicide Squad 2, confirming that the characters in the movie are who they are, with some behind-the-scenes footage and some finished footage too. It turns out one of the villains is going to be the Thinker, which is fun. I still think the general aesthetic of the costumes and designs looks like crap. They're overly foamy, neon, and very LARPy, but it sounds like Gunn & Co. know what they're doing otherwise. Even if it might not be all that squatty, it'll probably be a good time. Jesus Christ, John Cena as Peacemaker is such a waste of potential. That's really going to be a drawback. I guarantee it. Moving ahead, we had the new trailer for Wonder Woman 84, which still looks good. They finally revealed Cheetah's design, which is your basic cat creature with a very 80s style hair poof. I'm also all in for Steve Trevor, as he gets some great moments and Pine is back in form. And speaking of trailers, one of the most impactful of the day was the first teaser for The Batman. And I say teaser because it's made up of footage that they only had from the first week or two of filming, but goddamn, Reeves must be running a tight ship because this is one goddamn full trailer. We got the tone, the plot, the characters, the villains, everything. And it looks really damn good. I'm not going to say it looks groundbreaking because it doesn't. It's everything that the best Batman movies have already done before. But Reeves is still bringing his A-game. Paul Dano as the Riddler feels so concise and threatening, and I can't wait to see him in full in the theater. And lastly, we have our first trailer for the Snyder cut of Justice League. And just to get out of the way, yes, him using Hallelujah again for like the third time made me chuckle. But that was about it. Like, it was a chuckle for a couple of seconds. I know people are really digging into him for that, but I don't really get that sentiment. Is it silly? Yeah. But it's also earnest. It's sincere, like that one moment in Aquaman where Black Manta creates his suit set to Depeche Mode. It's just something that is so blunt and so on mark that I get the impression that it comes from a real place. And that's what I get throughout the trailer. Unlike the theatrical cut, which was bland, forgettable, and bereft of any thematic or emotional weight, there are shots and beats in this one that carry more meaning or impact than the entirety of what we got. Do I agree or like everything that I saw? No. Darkseid of an axe is awful and always will be. The dialogue still feels jarring and forced, but it at least seems like it wants to be something. Will it still be a mess of a movie? Probably yes. But so was Batman v Superman. And despite that, it still had a lot of incredible moments in it that I absolutely loved, and I'm sure this will too. Moving ahead to what I read this week, we have 3 Jokers #1, and it was a boring waste of time. Like, I'm not going to be as critical about this as others have been. I mean, I've seen people act like this is one of the all-time worst Batman stories or something. It's not. I mean, did you all forget the fucking multiverse that laughs? I wouldn't blame you, but that was just a week or two ago. By that new, really low standard, this is kind of a breath of fresh air. And that's ridiculous, because this is barely anything. It's not a story, it's not a mystery, it's not even really a continuation of that Rebirth plot thread. It's just, hey, there are 3 Jokers, and every single other character going, alright, there's nothing groundbreaking or ground shaking about this. It's just so flat and perfunctory. I guess if I had to say something nice about it, it would be that Johns and Fabak do a pretty decent job with the visual storytelling. Like, it's also not very good and also really blunt, but parts work, parts hit, and I've seen better, more acclaimed things do things worse with this. So tip of the hat to them. So overall, just very uninteresting. I don't see where it could go from here now that it's already 33% over. It seems like there's no forward momentum here, there's no hook. Overall, 1 thumb down, 1 thumb middle. Moving ahead, we have The Question, The Death of Vic Sage, #4, and this is a finale that I've been waiting almost an eternity for. And it kind of mostly sticks to landing. I'll start with the good. Lemire and Cohen are still firing on all cylinders here. They've been perfectly able to imbue this miniseries with a righteous sense of powerfully pulpy, visceral, and unforgiving stoicness. And this is no different. Lemire's narration and monologues still strike the reader as clear and incisive as they ever have. Cohen drafting up some really hard-hitting and equally impressive imagery that only hammers it home, and then some. The downside to all this is that Lemire gets a bit messy at the end. It does seem like he has a point, a message, and a goal of all this and how he wants to end the story, but it's not as elegant or impressive or as confident as the rest. It feels stuttering and jagged and awkward. I do appreciate the way the ending note is and how it plays out, but it definitely falls short. And it's only really propped up by how good the rest of the mini has been and what he's trying to, go for. Still, a great read from start to almost finish, and definitely worthwhile. Overall, 1 thumb up, 1 thumb middle. Next up, we have Hellblazer number 9. As we all know by now, this series has been cancelled, but that doesn't mean we can't enjoy the time we have left. And this issue is par for the course, is yet another home run. What really works about this issue, and really all the recent issues, is that Spurrier has basically made this series a collection of Constantine pulls you aside and bullshits you for about 21 pages. And that's a brilliant conceit. It's borderline amazing. It reminds me of those old Alan Moore urban legend stories about how he met John for real on a bar, and it really plays to Spurrier's strengths through just, oral narration. The issue is just really fun, dark, cynical, and extremely cutting commentary on power and the cultural and social climate of the British monarchy. And hell yes, this is the kind of stuff Hellblazer should be about. Take no prisoners, rip from the headline stuff. No wonder Delano really apparently likes this series. It's kind of what he was doing back in the 80s. And it's all about a damn unicorn. Spurrier and his creative team are incredible. The entire team is just something that is going to be sorely missed if this series doesn't get saved. Overall, 2 thumbs up. Next up, we have Stray Bullets, Sunshine and Roses number 42, which after a year waiting, we finally have the finale to the longest Stray Bullets arc ever. Was it worth the wait? Not really. I don't want to sound let down, because I really enjoyed it. But for as fun and thrilling as this arc has been, all 40 plus issues of it, one of the biggest questions hanging over the story has been, how will it connect back to the main plot? And the answer we got doesn't really merge back in that well. Most of the characters appear, it's a chaotic episode, so threads just stop mattering, and it only exists at the end to make the necessary connections to what it has to. Apparently, this was initially meant to go on for another 6 issues, and that shows immensely, because their things are just ended. What there is here is still really fun, the characters still vibrant as when they began, and this arc, if nothing else, did open up some new plot threads and new plot seeds that might come to fruition later on. Anyway, the series is going back on hiatus after this, so fingers crossed. 2 thumbs middle. Alright, moving ahead, we have Billionaire Island number 5, and I'm going to say that this could have been the finale, and it would have been an incredible miniseries from start to finish. And it's every note possible to bring this stuff to a head. Thematically, emotionally, humorously, it's pretty damn exhilarating. Russell really does knock it out of the park. With a monologue that is able to craft a really engaging portrait of Billionaire Island as an allegory for the United States and capitalist governments everywhere, pretty much, without going too far, without making it unbearable. It stays steady around a captivating, emotion-heavy core and keeps you drawn in that way. Never quite losing a beam of hope, but also accepting and absorbing the responsibility for a tone of tragedy and sadness. It's just a really hard-hitting issue, and I felt unable to put it down or to look away from it. There's a bit here and there that I felt was a little underwhelming, but overall, it was satisfying in a way that I'm glad exists. I'm so glad that this is something that has been written, that I can enjoy and that I can think about. So overall, 2 thumbs up, and I hope the finale is just as good, because otherwise, you gotta keep the momentum going. And finally, we have Chew number 2. I'm gonna keep this short, because it's still boring. The character is still uninteresting. But seeing the start of Chicken Flu is continuing to be the only thing worthwhile. Overall, 2 thumbs middle. I might let this stack after this, because it's just doing nothing to draw me in. I'm keeping this short because I am starting work on my first fully edited Unsourced Wall video. I've done unboxings and commentary tracks. It's gonna be hopefully a multi-part retrospective on Smallville. I'm settling on season 1 right now. It's taking a lot of time. It's not a skill set I have, and it's a lot of learning on the go. So fingers crossed that turns out well, and I'm going to be putting my efforts toward that for a little while. So anyway, thank you for listening. And yes, I know New Mutants is being released right now, but there's no way to see it without going to a theater. And a lot of news outlets are refusing to review it because of this, because they didn't even send out screeners. So that's a shame. If it ever does become available, I will review it. Anyway, again, thank you so much for listening. It means a lot to me, and I'm just so grateful for that. And I want to give a shout out to co-writers for the show at DOTEMCEE. Please check them out. They deserve it. And hope you have a great one. See you again next time.